As you saw in the title, this is how to rapidly increase your bench press. This is what has worked for me and helped me bench up to 315 pounds. We need to first start with the warm-up because that is one of the most important things. You need to make sure you're warmed up. We want to warm up a lot of our shoulders because, as you know, bench press involves shoulders, triceps, and chest. So we're going to start with these lateral flies. We're going to do 2 sets of 8, which is nice and easy. I go 10 pounds just to keep it light. And then do the second. So we're gonna do our second set now, and in this video, y'all, I'm gonna be pretty much breaking it down all the way from the warm-up to how to bench heavy, how to progress in your bench, and even all the mechanics and all the psychological stuff when it comes to benching, all the cues you want to remember as well. All right, so after our 2 sets of 8 right there, we're gonna do 2 sets of front raises of 8 reps as well. All right, after our 2 sets of 8 right there, we're gonna go with a little shoulder press. Again, you want to keep this weight light because you're just warming up. This isn't the actual workout itself. One more set right here. 2 sets of 8 for pretty much everything you warm up with is what I recommend. You can either find like a wall or just like a wall-like structure, and you want to stretch that pec tendon you have right here for 2 sets of 8 seconds. Not too far either, you don't want to hurt yourself, just to where you feel that stretch. And you switch sides again. Last set right here. Alright, so that's just a pretty basic warm-up. Obviously you can go more into depth, but for me that pretty much is all I need to warm up my upper body, especially for chest days. So now we're gonna get into the actual mechanics and how to actually increase your bench. Everything you're about to learn here, you need to be doing it at least 2 to 3 times a week in order to see progress in your bench sessions. The first thing I do is I get in this position. So I'm completely flat on the bench, nothing is arched, nothing is insane. I have my feet at the very edge of the bench right here. And before I even adjust my hands or anything, I just want to grab the bar wherever. It doesn't even matter where I grab it right now. I want to put my head back, and then I want to arch my back just slightly while still keeping the same posture, still keeping my feet at the edge of the bench. And I first want to feel where my scapula is aligned, because I want to imagine that I'm already benching, so I want to feel like I'm coming down. And sometimes when we bench, and if we don't align our scapulas first with the width of the bar, we can find ourselves being lopsided or us being too much on the left, so we're lopsided this way. So I want to make sure, I want to test it just with an invisible bar, and I want to come down, and I want to make sure my scapulas are in the right place so that when I actually load the bar and I have weight, my scapulas don't feel uneven, where one side is more on the bench than on the other side. So after I align my scapulas, like around right there is where it feels good, to where if I bench like this is the same form I'm about to use, both sides feel evenly placed on the bench. So after I do this, then I want to place my hands wherever. It doesn't matter where my hands go right now. And I want to bring my left foot, or if you're righty, you can go righty, but I'm lefty, so it's more natural for me to bring my left foot down and back behind me. So notice what I did. My back is arched, my scapulas are placed. I grab the bar, and I want to bring my left foot back behind me. I want to kick it back to create more of that arch. And then after that, I bring my right foot back. So after I have both feet planted, then I want to make sure I keep my scapulas retracted after that. I want to now place my hands. So every bar is obviously different, and they're going to have different placements for this ring right here. So for this bar in specific, I want to place my pinky right in front of this ring. Same way on this side, right in front of the ring. So not on the ring, not behind the ring, but right in front of the ring. And maybe your bar doesn't have this ring or it has it wider, but you kind of just want to measure. You want to go up to where your shoulders are, so shoulder width, and then just come out a little bit. And that's where your hand should be. So that's in case you don't have any rings, or if your rings are different than mine. But for now, we're going to put our fingers right there where the ring is. I have my scapulas retracted, and I want to now lift off the bar. So I'm lifting off, and I'm going to show you now what the bar path should look like. So with the traditional bar, one that isn't hooked onto an incline, you would want the bar to hit on your lower chest right here. So I'm going to come down, and I want to make sure it lightly touches my lower chest. You don't want it to be, too up here or to your neck, or even too low, because that's just going to make lifting it so much heavier. So again, I want it to be in my lower chest, and I'm pressing up. But now let's notice some of the mechanics that are going on here. So I have my hands placed, I'm coming down. Now if you look at my elbows aren't flared out, my elbows aren't too in. My elbows are pretty much in a perfect stance in a 45-degree angle to where they're in a healthy stance. This is not healthy and this is not healthy. You're too in here and you're too out here. That's not healthy for your shoulder health. So I want to keep my elbows there the whole time, and I want to picture that I'm keeping a tight posture the whole time, that nothing in my body is loose. Not my legs, not my toes, not my face, not my nose. Nothing is loose during this time. Now, one of the last things, and this is something that has helped me lift so much more weight, is look at my knees. So we kick back our knees, we kick back our legs, but instead of having your legs out here, you know, flaring out, I want to try to keep my knees in to where I'm literally squeezing the bench. So I want to imagine that I'm squeezing the bench, and that literally has increased my bench strength so much because it gives me another sense of, you know, that added help from my lower body. So I'm benching, right? And instead of just like being like this, how my knees are flared out, and just using leg drive, this gives me leg drive when I close my knees, but also a sense of like even like knee drive. I don't know really how to explain it. That's the best way I can explain it. You have to really try it for yourself. The full form should look something like this. So again, everything's set. My scapulas are set. My hand placement set. I'm squeezing my knees. That is going to help your bench so much. Just trust me on that. Just squeeze the bench with your knees. I'm tight everywhere. My elbows are at a 45-degree, and then I'm popping up and I'm touching my lower chest right here. So it should look like this. And every time I'm pushing up, I want to imagine that I'm pushing up from the ground up. So I'm pushing off using my legs as drive, using my knees as a drive, and I'm pushing up while pushing down with my knees and pushing down with my legs. So I'm pushing off of the floor in order to push the bar up. So imagine the bar going up and my body going down in order to push more with more force. Now, one of the other key things for increasing your bench press is how hard you train, your reps, and your sets. So let's get into that a little bit. Because just as important as it is to understand the mechanics, it's also important to know and understand what the actual workout is going to look like. So for me, whenever I do a heavy bench session, I want to keep my reps and my sets relatively low, meaning I might come in and do a 3x3, 3 sets of 3 reps, or maybe a 4x2, 4 sets of 2 reps. I really don't want to go any higher than 5 sets or 5 reps. Now, when it comes to intensity and training hard, you can learn to mix that up, meaning I might come in the gym for my bench session and maybe do a 3x3 at 60% of my 1 rep max. So what that means is once you learn what your 1 rep max is, which mine is 315, you would then calculate and take 60% of that 315 for me, and that would be my 60% for my 3x3. So maybe I might come in the next day and do a 4x2 at 75% of my 1 rep max. So that just lets me not do the same thing every time I come in and not just training till failure, but actually being smart with my workouts and including some diversity in there with changing the intensity percentage that we can go at. All right, y'all, so now I'm gonna teach you another technique to building up your bench press, which is training hypertrophy, training for volume, training for reps, which means incorporating other exercises. Because just as important as my chest is in bench pressing, so are my shoulders, my triceps, and of course, my chest. So we have 2 other body parts that are just as important. So we have to also be building those up and not just focusing on bench press, right? Because if we build those up, then our bench press will also follow. So here are 3 shoulder exercises and 3 tricep exercises I highly recommend adding to your bench day in order to increase your bench press. So the first one is a barbell shoulder press. You want to be almost upright, but not all the way, with just a small incline. And what you want to do next is, just like we did in bench, you want to retract your scapulas and scoot up in your seat just a tiny bit. You don't want to be like almost laying down. It's not an incline press, it's still a shoulder press, right? So you want to scoot up just a bit. You want to retract your scapulas, and the way you want to grab the bar is you literally just want to go up straight from where your shoulders are. You don't want to be out here. You want to go straight up and then just a little bit out, the same way that we did our bench press. So that brings me pretty much right in front of the ring how bench press was. And once I unrack, I want to sit and I want to place the bench to where when I bring the bar down, the bar is literally right by my chin. So this is how close you want to be. If you're too far, the farther you go, the harder it is to push the weight. So this is how close you want to be. And so when I'm pressing, I don't want to go any lower than chin level. So I don't want to go down here. I don't want to go lower than that. I don't want to go right here. I want to go chin level, and then I'm pressing, and then I'm pressing back up like this. So it should look like this. And I also want to remember that whenever I'm doing any pressing movements, which bench press is a pressing movement, or any shoulder work, I want to make sure that my elbows are still in that 45-degree angle, that they're not too flared out or that they're not too in. So check it out. It should look like this. So again, scapula is retracted. I'm scooted up in my bench just a little bit. My hands are shoulder height and then just a little bit out. And I want to come down and it's going to look like this. So we're coming down to our chin level. The bar is really close to my chin, to my whole face, and I'm pressing up like this. So usually what I recommend for this exercise for building strength for bench press is staying between the 8 to 12 rep range and doing about 3 to 4 sets. All right, y'all, so this is the second shoulder exercise that I highly recommend for building up your bench press, and it's seated dumbbell lateral flies. So for this demonstration, I'm just gonna use the 25s. But one of the first things before you even touch the weight is you wanna be scooted up in the seat. So I'm pretty much basically at the edge of the seat. I wanna keep my feet together in front of me, kind of at a right angle right here with my knees. Put my feet together. And the reason is, I'm gonna show you without the weight first, is we're gonna come down here and then we're gonna explode up and we're gonna lateral fly it. So it's gonna look something like this. So I'm starting low and then I'm popping up, like that. Nice and controlled. So when I'm coming up, I wanna imagine that I'm leading with my elbow and that my wrist, my hands that are grabbing the weight are just hooks, right? So I don't wanna lead with my hand, I don't wanna lead with my wrist, I wanna lead with my elbows up first and then my hand follows. So it should look like this. So my elbows are coming up first. Now, if you lead with your hand, if you lead with your wrist, then it's gonna look something like this, and this is what you don't want. You see how my hands and my wrists are coming up first than my elbows, before my elbows do? So that's what you don't want it to look like. So you wanna make sure that your elbows are the first ones that are coming up, and then your wrist follows. And for these, I would recommend staying between the 12 to 15 rep range and doing 2 to 3 sets anytime you work these out. All right, so again, just as important shoulders and chest are, triceps are also as important because you're literally using triceps to push up the bar whenever you bench press. So we need to build those up. So the first one is an easy bar incline tricep press. So it's gonna look something like this. Again, it's inclined, so you wanna be on an inclined bench. You wanna set it to around this level, how it is right here. I wanna make the seat also at an incline. And the way I'm gonna grab it is I'm gonna do this inside grip right here. I like to put my thumbs around. I mean, I don't like to put my thumbs around, but you can like this if you want, but I prefer it like this. I'm coming back and I'm pressing up and I'm making sure my back is arched and I scoot up in my seat just a little bit, but not too much. My knees are pointing out and I wanna retract my scapula. I wanna arch my back and I wanna make sure that my elbows also stay in. So this is my elbow staying in and this is my elbows flaring out. I wanna make sure my elbows stay in. So I'm coming down till about right there to the top of my head, but not really to just the top of my head right here, but I'm scooting it back a little bit right there as well. So again, it should look like this. So I'm here, I'm pressing, I'm keeping my elbows in to the back of my head and then up. So you don't gotta touch your head, but just to right where it's about to touch your head, and then you wanna press up. All right, so this next one is a superset that I highly recommend to do. So what it's going to include are 2 different types of dumbbells, a heavier weight and then a lighter weight. So the way this is going to look like is you're going to superset dumbbell over the head extensions with dumbbell iso extensions. So I'm going to show you what that means. So my heavy weight is going to be 70 pounds. So again, you want to choose your heavier weight. Now what we're going to do with this heavy weight is we're going to over the head dumbbell extension it. So I got my weight right here, and the way I'm going to lift this up in order to put it over my head, I want to do it very carefully because if this hits my head, that's not going to be good. All right. So I have it on my left knee because I'm lefty, so I'm gonna bring it up with my left, but you can do whatever knee you prefer. So the way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna use momentum to kick this up and make sure this end of the weight ends up on my shoulder. So check this out. Like that. So I just did a flip. I'm gonna do it one more time. Like that. So once I'm here, I wanna do a diamond grip with my 2 hands around the edge of the dumbbell. Just like that, and then I bring it over. So take a look at my grip. Y'all see my grip right there? So once I'm here, again, I want to try as much as possible to keep my elbows in and not flared out. This is a little bit harder because it's over my head. So I want to do 8 reps, eight heavy reps right here. So it should look like this. I bring it back, and then it goes back down the way that it came up. So after I do those 8 heavy reps, I'm grabbing my lighter weight, which I'm doing 25 for. So again, this is the lighter weight, so I'm bringing it up the same way that I brought up the other one. I'm doing a diamond grip, but this time only with one hand. So these are the ISO extensions that you're supersetting the over-the-head dumbbell extensions with. So I did 8 for the first one. Now I'm doing 12 on each arm for this superset. And then we switch sides. So that is one set. One over the head extension with the heavy weight, and then 2 12 and 12 with the ISO extension with the lighter weight is one total set because it's a superset. So you're combining 2 exercises together. What I would recommend doing is doing 2 sets of these whenever you want to do these. All right, y'all, so the last shoulder exercise that I'm going to show y'all to build up your bench press is doing rear delt flies. The last exercise was lateral flies, so that works your side delt, but this one's going to work our rear delt. So again, you want to come to this pec deck, rear delt fly machine, whatever you call it. Every gym should usually have one. And the way I'm going to position myself is I'm not going to bring myself all the way forward. I'm going to scoot back a little bit, and I'm going to bring my chest forward. So it's kind of like I'm at an angle, and it should look like this. So the rep range I want to keep this one in is 3 to 4 sets from 12 to 15 reps. All right, y'all, so the last one we're going to do for triceps is a rope tricep push down. So all you're going to need is just pretty much this rope and the cable machine. And so the way I want to position myself is I want to put my feet together. I want to stand at like 2 steps back from the actual machine. And once I'm here, I want to kind of imagine like I'm arching my back and I'm sticking my butt out. And the way I'm going to grab the rope is I like to do a higher grip. So I'm gripping it a bit higher up here. I'm bringing it down to around my stomach level. Just keep in mind how I'm arching my back. And I'm coming down. And I want to imagine that I'm splitting the rope in 2, like I'm splitting it apart. So instead of just coming down like this, I'm coming down and I'm splitting it in 2. And I want to come up all the way to kind of like my lower chest to like my stomach area. Nothing higher than that. And I'm coming down, but I'm not coming down straight down like that. I'm coming down and I'm bringing it down at an angle towards my body. So it should look like this. So for this exercise, I want to do anywhere between 3 to 4 sets of 12 to 15 reps. And that is going to conclude our video, y'all. I hope you learned something, man. Anything you learned, whether it was minor or major, you can apply it all to your bench press days and see the weight start to increase, man. And if you like this video, be sure to subscribe. I'm going to put our sub count right here. And be sure to also follow the Snapchat. We're posting daily on it, and we'll catch y'all next week.